I believe, oh, I believe. Will you dream with me?
Good morning, everyone out there. Welcome to Changing Times. It is Wednesday, July the 12th, show number 117. We have got a great show lined up today. Two really good friends of mine, and these gentlemen are difference makers. You guys are absolutely, over all the things you guys have done in your life, you are difference makers. And Dawn Blackard, my co-host, when she was always here, and she'll be back sometime, hopefully in July, always says being the change. If you're being the change and you're a difference maker, that is just a double great thing to do for people. You're doing it for people. This show is live every Wednesday at the Axe Media Group headquarters in Springfield, Missouri. And we're going to go ahead and just get started right away. I really think this is one of the most important things, and we're going to be talking about today about veterans and what we're going to be doing in December and stuff like that. So, and I've also got a brochure we're going to be showing people after a while, but Wreaths for Warriors. So Dr. Scott McGill, you are a medical doctor. You're still practicing some, aren't you?
I did up until a couple of years ago.
Okay, so you kind of retired.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Sort of.
Kind of like me with pharmacy. So, and then also you are with a group, Veterans in Defense of Liberty.
Correct.
And you kind of head that up, don't you?
I'm the executive director.
Yeah. And so we've known each other for a long time, and I appreciate the things that you've done on the Springfield Park Central Square, the different things on liberty and freedom and stuff that we've done. I know Shane Scholler, our other guest, county clerk, running for Secretary of State. I'm hoping that we'll have a little time to talk about what you plan to do. Okay. And I've known you for a long time too.
Yes.
So these gentlemen are definitely difference makers. And we're going to talk about a great program that whether you're in Missouri or any of the other 49 other states, and we have people all over the world now. We'll probably have 12, 16 countries watching this show today.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And so if you have any love for veterans at all, you might want to make a donation. We're going to be looking to try to raise $100,000 to buy 15,000 wreaths.
Correct.
So we'll let you kind of finish up there. So you've got a program, you've got some people like myself and Shane Scholler, other people, good people that's around our area that's going to help with the committee. And we've got a big job ahead. But to honor these fallen soldiers and to making sure that we not only honor them, but we also honor their families.
Absolutely.
And that we don't want one grave to be left behind and not be decorated for Christmas, right?
Absolutely. We'll go in a little bit on how we got into this.
Sure.
As the executive director of Veterans in Defense of Liberty, we have one of our programs is Liberty Riders of America, which is a group of veteran motorcyclists. And they were talking in November last year about the wreaths that were being laid at the Springfield Lake Veteran Cemetery. Wanted to know if there were going to be any at our national cemetery, which is on the register of National Register of Historic Places. And I said, well, I'll go out and talk to the director and see if they are and if you can help. So I went out and I talked to this gentleman, had never met him before. And we had about an hour-long conversation. And yes, they were laying wreaths last year and wanted to continue it. And I said, well, would it be all right if Liberty Riders came out and helped you? And he said, yeah, that'd be fine. But why don't you just take it over? And so here I am.
To be careful what you volunteer, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we did. We went out and helped last year another group that laid it, and it just really broke my heart. I mean, you mentioned, Lynn, there's 15,000 graves out there. Last year, or in 2022, they had 1,800 wreaths to lay. that means, that's so sad. There's so many people in the Greene County, Christian County area that have family in that cemetery, and they go out there and to honor their loved one. And there's no wreath on his grave, but right next to it there is one. Right. And that's just not right. So we are dedicated to, and fortunately, you're very modest, that we're honored to be partnered with Greene County, Christian County, as well as Color 10 Television, and Lawrence County 4-H group. And so this is the concept of bringing citizens and veterans together to honor those that have gone before us. Excuse me. So on December the 16th this year, we will be laying somewhere over 14,000 wreaths. We'll have a short program before it with pipers piping during the wreath laying. We'll have a 21-gun salute by the Marine Corps. And we will have, I can't go into it too much, but probably a military maneuver that has not been seen in Springfield before, as we honor these all that are buried there. There's 15,000 graves. They are the oldest veteran out at the Springfield National Cemetery, not the oldest grave, but the oldest veteran is, I believe his name is William Jeffers. I could be wrong. But he was a scout for George Washington.
Wow.
Which they brought him over there. They have 5 Buffalo Soldiers out there. They have 5 Medal of Honor recipients buried out there and their families. And so this is an incredible experience that we're going to be able to do. And it's good for so many people. It's good for the veterans to be able to go out and honor their brothers that have gone before them, and be in the mix of fellow warriors that they have fought with shared experiences, and yet be with the citizens that we served. For the citizens, it's a marvelous way to step up, if you would. Thank you for your service. I mean, every veteran deeply appreciates it when somebody says thank you for your service. But when you turn that into action, it touches the hearts of the American veteran more than a non-veteran can understand. Right. And to be willing to stand out there in the December cold is truly acting non-verbal. It's action, not words. But beyond that, for the parents and grandparents that are there, what a golden opportunity to take this as an educational experience and teach the children and teach the grandchildren who paid the price. And that was a real price that was paid for our freedom that we still celebrate today. So that is the intention. We want this to turn into one of the largest events in Southwest Missouri, and it should. And with the help of Christian and Greene County and Color 10. And obviously, we have representatives from both Christian County and Greene County here today. And I deeply appreciate that, gentlemen.
Well, I tell you what, Dr. McGill, so I'm on the board out at the Lake Springfield, the state cemetery, veteran cemetery, and you're right. Jan and I go out there and walk from time to time. It's just so beautiful. And in the cemetery we're talking about in Springfield, and kind of in the center of Springfield, it's such a beautiful historical place. My mom and dad is buried in the other part of the cemetery, and so it's got those beautiful old trees. It's just beautiful in the fall when the trees color change. It's just I just love looking at those old historical markers and looking at when they were born and when they died and all this. And all those white crosses are in perfect order. They when they have inspections, when the federal government comes and inspects, they have a ruler and they measure everything. Everything has to be perfectly straight. Everything has to be so much distance between and stuff like that. It's just such precision. And to think that we're going to be putting these beautiful wreaths on every one of those in Springfield, Missouri, and the fact that it hasn't been done completely like what we're going to be attempting. And I think we'll do it. I think with a lot of people's help out there in the Springfield area, Southwest Missouri area, all over the state, and maybe somewhere else in this country, you may just be compelled after you hear this story today to help out if you can help out. And then, I think you're exactly right about having volunteers and having our younger people. So our kids and our grandkids is a tremendous opportunity on December 16th for the homeschoolers, the parents that do homeschooling, also public education. It'd be a good thing for public education kids, because I'm not quite sure. We were talking before we went on air today about 4th of July. I had Dr. Mary Byrne on last week on July the 5th, the day after the 4th. And I told you guys, as I sat there with all my grandkids and family members around our pool, we had lunch and cookout and everything. I wondered, I got 3 in high school at Nixa, 3 grandkids in high school, and then 3 that's already out in college. And I'm thinking, what do they really know about the 4th of July, Independence Day? What do they really understand? Because I'm a suspicious guy that must think that they haven't really been taught exactly the way the 3 of us have been taught. And so I think this is a great opportunity to understand the sacrifice that men and women, they didn't know any of us. They didn't know us, but they did their duty. And some didn't come back. And so I think a tremendous opportunity. To me, it's worth more than attending class. You need a little bit of all that stuff. And those are the field trips I think that if schools wanted to take, that would be good. Down in Christian County, I like for them when they come to the courthouse and see all of us elected officials. I like to take them around. But I also like to take them to the museum across the street, because not very many people know that we even have a historical museum in Christian County. I like for them to see that. I like for them to go over to the jail and see the sheriff's department and see the jail and what happens when you don't follow the law and order. That's what happens to you. I like them to go in and see how the trials are done. So I take them to the 2 courts that we have our trials going on and stuff. I like for them to see all that stuff. To me, that's that's better than a whole day of classroom, to see and people in action doing things. And listen to the collector. What does he do? Listen to the county clerk. What does she do? And all. I mean, so really, to me, that's education, and it's so valuable. And what we're doing is to honor those fallen soldiers, but we're also honoring the families. And then also we're teaching. This is a teaching moment to preserve.
Sure.
Because if we don't do it and we don't have people behind us, our grandkids and kids, to follow us up, and we don't be here forever, it'll stop. All that stuff will stop. And then our countries, we all know. And that's why I named my show Changing Times. When I talked to Jim Whining over 2 years ago, and we talked about doing this show for my 7.5 years doing my radio show, and I switched to this, we were trying to figure out what we were going to name our show. And I said, Jim, I think we're in the midst of the most changing times that we've ever seen in this world. Some of it's good, some of it's not good. So I think I'm going to name our show Changing Times. And honestly, I think God gave me that name. I know he did, because I prayed about it a lot. And then Don Blackard, my co-host that always sits right there with you, Shane, I prayed about who I was going to pick, and Jeff Messenger is such a good friend, and he and I drove back, carpooled for 8 years going to Jefferson City as a state rep, but But I thought, well, two old men being seen on on computers and cell phones and however they're watching us today all over the world, I thought, man, I need someone younger and a lot prettier than us two old men. So that's why I chose Dawn, and God gave me her name from somebody I've known for a long time. And so less than half my age, Iraqi war veteran, Dawn Blackard is Iraqi war veteran. She's one of those young people that when 9/11 happened, she was at OTC college, and a day after it happened, she enlisted in the National Guard.
Wow.
And at that time, she was in the engineering battalion, and they said, well, we've never been called up to active duty. And she said, okay. She didn't think too much about it. She just signed up. Lots of young people back then. Remember how all the homes and businesses had flags at that time?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then it was really great. I mean, not that 9/11 happened, but just fact that, boy, patriotism really grew. and then all of a sudden it's kind of waned away again. Over time, you kind of lose that. I'm still proud of all the people that still have flags up at their homes and stuff like that. We do. And all my businesses had 23 stores had a flag every day outside. We had flags. And I'm proud of that. I know when I used to campaign, Shane, you probably do too, and you will again now running for Secretary of State. Anybody with an American flag in their front yard, I always knocked on their door.
You bet.
You bet.
Now, some of the homes, if they weren't mowed yards and stuff like that, I might bypass them. But I'm telling you what, there were certain keys of things that I looked for because I felt like they'd be a voter.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be a voter. But so how much money did we say? $100,000 about what we're going to need to raise?
$100,000. And before, so I don't forget it, I'm notorious at doing this. Anybody that would like to donate, buy a wreath, help us out, can go to Wreaths for Warriors, FOR Warriors, wreathsforwarriors.com, and donate it anytime. And all of the help is needed because this is a massive undertaking, and we'd love for you to be part of it.
So, if you have $5, we'll take it. $5, $100, $50, $250, $500, $1,000. We have the three of us plus other people that's on your committee, Doctor. We know people that I believe are business people, been very successful, been blessed, and we're expecting those people to give a lot more money. Yeah. We have business owners that I think can come up with $2,500, $5,000, $10,000. Now that's a lot of money, but for us ordinary people, if you could just give $5 or $10 or $25, how much does a wreath cost?
That's theoretically they're about $7, and we get them at quite a break.
Right. So just think about it. If you could just give $7, then you would be helping one fallen soldier that we're honoring that day. So that would be an awesome thing. Yeah. And you could do it with your kids or your grandkids and show them what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's another part of education, of educating and teaching the kids to pay forward here now, pay forward to honoring these people that have already done something for us. Because we all wouldn't be here today if we hadn't won the wars and fought the wars that we have fought and won through God's help and blessing on many of the wars. If you really study history, there was wars that we weren't supposed to win.
Yeah, that's right.
But somehow fog and different things happened, and it just happened. And then we actually won the war. And I think that we've been chosen, and we have to keep doing the right things, and we'll get that done. So if you're a corporate sponsor out there somewhere in this state or country, and you want to be a corporate sponsor, we have applications for corporate sponsors, and we'd be glad to send those to you. We'll give the name and place and phone numbers again a couple more times today, and stuff like that. And talking about volunteers, I said, I'm an Eagle Scout, so I love Boy Scouts. I still work with Boy Scouts organizations, and so what a great group of young men, because it turns boys into men. By the time they get to be an Eagle Scout, or even if they never make it to the top rank and they make it to, say, life or something like that, they are certainly much better off learning the camping skills and all the skills that you learn with all the merit badges. But I believe that I can bring probably 5 or 6 Boy Scout troops from Christian County, and they'll be hard-working young men and families, the type of people we want there. And because it's going to take, I don't walk very fast, so if I was going to have to place 15,000 wreaths myself, I'd have to start the day before. But if we get a lot of helpers, the volunteers, then those great big jobs aren't that big when you can divide it up with with a small group of people.
Lynn, you think about it, one of the things that when you get the opportunity to serve, it is a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't want to keep that blessing for yourself. You want others to be able to have that opportunity, and the opportunity to be able to go and place that wreath and honor those men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice that we have the freedom that we have today. I can think of no better opportunity to share in terms of that blessing, because you're going to get a blessing from that as you're part of that ceremony. And it's just something that's deep, it's intangible, but we want others to be a part of that. And I think that's something we, as we invite people, is you're going to experience something that you're not going to be able to explain, but you're going to deeply appreciate.
Well, Shane, I agree 100%. And, I guess one of the things I was thinking about, I've known you for a long time, and you've been in service a long time, public service. Besides knowing Scott McGill for a long time, but what else made you decide to when he called you? I'm sure he called you just like he did me.
Yep.
So how that happened.
That's right.
Yeah. So what was your thinking?
Well, one of the opportunities I get as county clerk is we get to administer elections. And every time we do our election judge training, I invite those. We have a moment of silence, and I say, if you choose to pray as I do, let's pray for men and women who are in harm's way.
Sure.
Who are protecting that freedom that we have. And I always think about that when I go to vote, in terms of there are men and women who are protecting that freedom, men and women who've sacrificed and given everything, men and women who have, lost limbs and just, a part of their life through that sacrifice. And we honor them when we go to cast that ballot, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of that freedom that they have fought to protect. And I think the same thing in terms of when we honor them and their families and those that, have lost their loved ones. We want them to know that we will always deeply appreciate and respect them. And this is a way to be able to do that. And so it just goes hand in hand, I think, with what I get the honor to be able to do as a county clerk in Greene County, just like Paula does down in Christian County. I can't think of any better day than the day of the election. And I think this is going to be right up there with it. It's just going to be an amazing event that people are going to really think, man, I'm glad I was there. And then they're going to look forward to coming back next year.
Yeah. Well, you, sir, you're a doer. You're a doer. And, when Doctor called me, I couldn't say no. I mean, so I just really always want to pay back. Yes. We have a lot of people we need to pay back. Mm-hmm. And I think all of us are strong Christians in this room. But for me, I just think, I think this is another project that God is endorsing. He's over this program. He's going to make sure that we raise the money. Absolutely. It may sound like right now it's impossible. Nothing is impossible through God. And so I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about getting enough volunteers to get the job done than I am about the money. I think the money's going to come and we'll get this project done. But right now, we're going to take just a short break. Don't go anywhere. I want to talk about our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with Dr. Scott McGill and Shane Scholler. So the first sponsor is Brad Pistow. He is a certified fiduciary financial planner located right in Ozark, Missouri. And the strange thing is about him, he is my financial advisor for retirement planning. I put all my retirement money in with Brad Pistow. And so far, in about 3.5 years, I have not lost $1, not $1 with the stock market going down, fluctuating, doing all the crazy things it does. I've not lost $1. I've made money. I've made anywhere from 6 to 8% consistently every year. And I will have enough money to live on the rest of my life. I don't have to worry about running out of money. So it's never too early to think about retirement planning. He has written a couple of books, with the first book called Safe Money Matters, the second book called Bulletproof. And he describes the techniques and methods that he uses to have safe investing for retirement planning. You don't want to have, once you get to a certain age and you're towards retirement age or past retirement age, you don't want to be worrying about your money being wiped out by the stock market. And so there's certain things that you need to do. He is licensed in 3 states. And so, but don't worry, there's 47 other states. Somebody's watching, and he has friends and associates in all 47 other states. He goes around the country talking to people about safe retirement planning. And he's a contributor to USA Today. That's how I met him. But it's through the newspaper. One Saturday morning when Jan and I was in Florida, we were eating at Denny's, and I get to USA Today, and I see this guy, Brad Pistow. I called it Pistol. I didn't know how to pronounce his name. I said, and look here, Janet, we're just thinking about doing a retirement plan. We have to get out of our company 401ks, and we only have so much time, and we have to do something. So we didn't know what we needed to do. And so I said, look at this Brad Pistol. He is really smart. He is telling me everything that I've been talking about and praying about. Yeah. And so I said, boy, I wish I had somebody like him. Okay, well, 2 weeks later, we're back home. I'm at Sands Cafe, little Sands Cafe between Ozark and Sparta. I'm eating breakfast with a friend before I start my day, and 3 gentlemen older than me sitting over there, and I hear them talking about this Brad Pistow is the smartest investor, retirement planner around. And I'm going, I'm listening. You're not supposed to be listening to other people's conversations, but I was listening because I thought, no, I think that's maybe could be the same guy. Mm-hmm. Boy. So I said, excuse me, guys. I said, are you talking about a guy named Brad that is a retirement specialist? And they said, yeah, he's right here in Ozark. We all 3 use him. I said, oh, thank you, Lord, because this is, wow. I've been praying about, who am I going to use? This is a big decision for seniors when they start thinking about retiring. Who are you going to use as your advisor? You know, you don't want to use somebody that's going to advise you wrong. And so really, I highly recommend him. You call 417-581-9222, 417-581-9222, and they'll send you his books. They'll send you information, and he doesn't charge for consultations. So honestly, a great guy. Second sponsor, Youngblood Motor Group. That is John Whittaker and John Youngblood. John Youngblood's scheduled to be on our show in the next 2 or 3 weeks. He always comes a couple times a year and talks about electric cars, hybrid cars, gasoline cars. Do you buy? Do you lease? I mean, he has all kinds of good information all the time. They specialize in Nissans and Kias. On one side of South Campbell and Springfield, they have Nissan, Kia, new cars. On the other side of the street, on Campbell Street, they have over 150 cars that are usually certified cars. That means that they've been checked from front to back, everything in between. And when you buy their cars, certified cars, that means that they have done a tremendous inspection job. You can drive down the road. They're going to last a long time, and they're just going to be a great buy, as a lot of us have to buy used cars today instead of new cars. And 47 years, guys, 47 years in business, family-owned car dealership. That's a long time. My business lasted almost 44 years, and that. So when you start getting up towards 50 years, you're doing something right with people, and people continue to buy cars from them. I bought my last 2 cars from John Youngblood and Whittaker, and I will again my 3rd car. So we'll be doing that. Third sponsor is Louis Michael. Louis is a sub-co-host sometimes, and I think he's still out of town right now, but he also is a sponsor too. and he works for the firm FIRM Realty. It's kind of a boutique family business down in Christian County. The Parham family have been around a long time and just great people. And he works for them. But every time he sells a home, he puts money into his nonprofit, Choosing to Live. So Choosing to Live is a nonprofit that teaches. He goes around and talks to schools, churches, wherever someone will listen, to choose life over death. He had a gun to his head at Busick Park. People in the Southwest Missouri probably know where Busick Park is, between Ozark and 65. And he had severe depression when he was in high school. And he was within 1 second of pulling that trigger. And when God spoke to him and saved his life, he threw the gun down and actually grazed his leg. But he has a tremendous story to tell about choosing life over death. Then the interesting thing was he became an Elvis impersonator, and he was one of the best in the world. He won a contest in Nashville, Tennessee, 250 Elvis pretenders. He was number one. In Las Vegas, he went there and competed against several hundred people, men, and he won again. He's traveled all over the world as a warm-up show for many of the top performers. He's a tremendous singer. He would sit right there where you are, Shane, and he would belt out an Elvis song or two. And when you buy a house from him, it was my idea. When you buy a house from Louis Michael, he's going to do an Elvis party in your backyard, because you probably won't know any neighbors when you buy that house. You're just moving into a new neighborhood. You don't know anybody, but you're going to know everybody, because you're going to invite them. All they got to do is bring their lawn chairs. You can make a few cookies and have some lemonade or something like that. And then he's going to perform and do an Elvis concert, and you'll be the most popular person on the block. So that's a great deal. Not very many realtors can do that. Okay. So call Louis Michael up if you need him. His phone number is 417-988-1086. 417-988-1086. That's our three sponsors today. And so we're going to jump right back into this. So, Dr. McGill, so there are some other people I know that is helping our group. I know one of them is a state representative, just new state representative.
True.
And so who are some of the other people?
Yeah, a couple of others, particularly. You're speaking of State Representative Darren Chappell.
Yeah, great guy.
And Darren is our Executive Vice President for Veterans in Defense of Liberty. And he's been a big part of the last 13 years of Veterans in Defense of Liberty. I don't think we'll make 47. But
okay. Well, but you know what? Just keep going.
One foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
The other that is very near and dear to my heart is our honorary co-chair, Jerry Davis. And Jerry Davis, of course, is now the chancellor of and the past president of College of the Ozarks. And he is very, very engaged in seeing this. Of course, a very patriotic, very veteran-oriented gentleman, and just love him to death. He really is super. And then we have the 4-H group from Lawrence County that are also really engaged in what we're doing. So.
Well, I tell you what, you've got a good group, and we'll get more people to help us, and that's the key. The more people that we can get involved in this, the better it'll be, easier on all of us, and I think we're going to get that done. College of the Ozarks, when you mentioned Jerry Davis, and he did a great job. I love College of the Ozarks, and some really good people have graduated from College of the Ozarks, and for people that's watching, I always tell people, Branson, Missouri, that's where College of the Ozarks is located, over in between Branson and Hollister area. And it's a great place to visit. This is where the students work, and they work, and then they have their tuition basically paid for. So this is a hard work you. I've had people on from College of the Ozarks, and great marketing director, a lady that just knows everything about College of the Ozarks. She was so good and explaining everything that these kids, these young men and women learn there, and they've got a museum. They've got all kinds of things that you can see. Their grounds are just beautiful, and obviously Branson with Johnny Morris and all the things that's going on down there with Bass Pro and Big Cedar and Dogwood Canyon, which I love Dogwood Canyon. There's a lot of things to see, so I would encourage people to come to Missouri. If gasoline's still too high for you, maybe you can afford to just drive to some of the locations in Missouri, and especially in our area, Branson, Southwest Missouri area, and even in Springfield and Ozark. We have a lot of cool things that we offer people and invite you to come to see. Because we got people watching right now figuring out where they're going to go to on vacation before school starts. And so, come to see us. I tell you what, you won't be disappointed. We've got lots of rivers and lakes, lots of great people. The people are very friendly here, and I think you'll enjoy your visit. Well, so what else do we?
They can also come and see the cemetery where they're going to. Their wreath is going to be placed.
That's right, and it's a beautiful cemetery. Is. I mean, it's so historical and just always mowed so beautifully. Everything's manicured there and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just like a perfect place to lay someone down that is so important that they died for us.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do people get a hold of us again? What do they do?
Again, you can go to Reese for Warriors, Reese for FOR4 Warriors.com, and get hold of us through there. You can call Veterans in Defense of Liberty's office at 417-886-8499. That's 417-886-8499. And we will either be there or get back to you if you leave your name. So pleased to have as many people on board as we possibly can, because this is taking, thank you for your service, to that extra level, and let's do that.
Well, this is, as I told the gentleman today before our show started, this is the start of our fundraising effort. You think, well, it's July and we're not talking about till December. Well, it's hard to try to collect money a year ahead, but now's the time. Right now is the time for us to go out and start. So if you're a businessman or woman in Southwest Missouri, we may be knocking on your door. If you're some good friends of ours, and we may be knocking on your door, making a telephone call, sending a text message. We're going to need a lot of help. But we can get it done with everyone helping. And so I would encourage, and we'll continue to talk about this from time to time on our show, and keep bringing making sure we have a mind awareness of what's going on. So we've got a few minutes left. Just one other thing on veterans. Let's talk. You said there was something going on right now and I want to talk to Shane about his run.
Yeah, this is, before we move on to that, I just really want to thank both of you gentlemen for your engagement and your support in this program, because it means the world to me, and I know it means the world to everybody out there at that cemetery. This is ironic that we talk about this today, because this is a massive issue going on right now, and I would suggest everybody get hold of their congressional representative. The infamous Lloyd Austin has made sure included in the National Defense Authorization Act, which will be passed this week in D.C., that the reconciliation statue in Arlington be taken down. The reconciliation statue, just briefly, was placed in 1911, I believe, by Woodrow Wilson. It honors the Confederate soldiers that are buried in Arlington. It is probably one of the most beautiful pieces there. At the present time, there is an amendment number 742, that is in Rules Committee. We have to get behind the rules and get hold of your representatives to make sure that 742 is passed, which would preclude the removal of that statue. This is just a further attempt to rewrite history and to, it does tie really well to Springfield because there are 5 national cemeteries in the country that have both Union and Confederate soldiers buried there. Springfield is one of them. Arlington is one of them. And I forget when it was, the Confederate soldiers were classified as American veterans. And they exhibit a lot of the spirit that we exhibit today. Maybe ill-chosen, but they did. And we won that war. I just want everybody to get engaged with that. We cannot I don't want to have to try to turn out 1 million veterans to Arlington to say not here, not now.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because we were talking about that before the show started. Again, I mean, I am so against, you learn from history. You're supposed to have real history, actual history. And then when you study that history, that helps you not to make a same mistake again. It helps you to know where you've been, where you know where you're going to go. If you don't know where you've been, then you may not get to where you want to go. And I just can't stand to think that we've had monuments torn down. We've had all kinds of historical things changed. Our history books have been rewritten. And honestly, that's why so many families are going to homeschooling today. Jan and I have been helping with the Elks Club buy children's clothes over at Walmart and Nixa. We do it again this Saturday, then 2 Saturdays in Ozark. So 4 weeks in a row. And we have all these kids. A lot of them are now. When I did it 4 years ago, it was all public school students. I bet you last Saturday, half the students are actually homeschooled kids that still need help and with clothes. And it's just awesome to have $100 for each one of those kids to buy some clothes at Walmart. And they don't charge sales tax. So kudos to Walmart. They're helping us out a lot with a lot of sales going on. And we can buy a lot of clothes for those kids. But a lot of them are homeschool kids. And now those kids are being taught the correct history. I want public schools to teach the right history too. Okay. Otherwise, I think we will perish at some point just because we just aren't knowing what the real history is. We're being indoctrinated. But I want just very quickly. So you're running for Secretary of State.
Yes. That's
and
right.
I'm proud of you because I think you would be a great Secretary of State. You're going to follow a great guy in Jay Ashcroft.
That's right.
And he's from here.
Yes.
So I think it's just kind of appropriate from another person from Southwest Missouri, just kind of replacing Jay. And so you started your campaign a little bit.
Yes, started earlier this year, right here in Springfield. And so we've just been getting out, going across the state, meeting voters, and just really talking about the importance of making sure that every election is secure, accurate, and fair. And have that experience being the county clerk in my 9th year here, understand what that takes and how we can even improve it too.
Well, I tell you what, for everyone out there in Missouri, I've known Shane Scholler for a long time, and you would be a great state secretary, and this is an extremely important position, and we need someone that is equal to Jay Ashcroft that can just come right in and know exactly what he needs to do to protect our elections, to protect our people and our freedoms in this state. And so I would highly recommend Shane Scholler. So I appreciate that. Well, hey, guys, thanks for being here today. And we'll be back live next Wednesday, as we always are at 9 a.m. with another great show. And we really thank you. Hey, guys, when the show, and Shane, I know you have been on the show before, our video that we start off with was created by Don Blackard, my good friend and co-host. And so you see the video, you listen to the video. When we close today, it's going to be on again. Okay. And actually, a gentleman from John Miner from Nixa, Missouri, actually sung the song. She produced get this video going and things like that. And so I always want to think about her. So you guys have a great rest of the week. I guess try to stay cool. It's going to be hot down here in Southwest Missouri. probably hot most of the places. This summer is really here. So we'll see you next week.
1, 2, 3. Can I get a hoorah?